Hey, draft season is upon us, and as you watch the time tick down in your draft, you're going to see a bunch of big names staring you right in the face, and more than likely, you're going to want to add most of those guys. Well, hit that like button because I've got 4 players that on draft day, at their current ADP, you should be avoiding, the same way Marshawn Lynch avoids the media. Hey Headliner Nation, what's up? Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle coming to you from the Draft.com studios, and honestly, I'm just here so I don't get fined. No, I'm kidding. I'm here because I've got some awesome information I want to share with you about big names that I'm going to be avoiding on draft day this season. But before we jump into that, I want to remind you that we are doing 2 giveaways right now. We've got a signed Keenan Allen jersey that we're giving away and a signed Alvin Kamara jersey. Now, if you want your shot at the signed Keenan Allen jersey, you got to go back to Jake's wide receiver rankings video. Check out that episode. He's going to give you all the details on what you need to do there. For the signed Alvin Kamara jersey, got a couple of different steps that you can take to get your name in the drawing for that jersey. Number 1, head to thefantasyheadliners.com. Purchase our draft guide. It's only $19.99 right now. Only almost 500 pages of information to help you win your championship this season. So that in itself is a win for you. But if you purchase a draft guide, or if you've already purchased a draft guide, it doesn't matter. As long as you've purchased one prior to August 15th, you're going to be in the drawing to win that jersey. You want a second chance to win it though? Head over to draft.com. Sign up with a new draft account. Use our promo code Headliners and deposit $10. You're going to get a free $3 game, and you're going to get another shot to win that jersey. Make sure that you email us at thefantasyheadliners@gmail.com, and then we will put you in the drawing for that. So that's 2 chances there to win that jersey. So again, you want Keenan Allen? Go to Jake's wide receiver rankings video. He's going to tell you how to do that. You want Alvin Kamara, or you want both? It doesn't matter. You want Alvin Kamara, then follow those steps that I just gave you, and you're going to be in the running for that. Now, without further ado, we got to talk about 4 names that we're going to be avoiding on draft day this season. All right, the first name that we're going to talk about, we've already talked about this on a previous video. Jake has gone over LeVeon Bell a couple of different times. But in my research, I found a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. So I tossed the idea out to Jake, and Jake said, go for it. Let's give the people some more information on why we are skipping on LeVeon Bell in this season's draft. So for LeVeon Bell, currently an ADP of 9.5, the running back 7, so you have to spend a first-round pick to get him. Now, Jake has given you a lot of information on LeVeon Bell, but a couple of things that I want to stress. Number 1, the last time that he sat out an extended period of time, it was before the 2017 season. He sat out the offseason, all of the workouts, all of the preseason, and in his first 3 games back, only 52 carries, 180 yards, 3.46 yards per carry. He did not look like himself. He is going to be facing an extremely tough schedule to begin the year this season, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of rust that he's going to want to work off. But with that being said, one thing that I wanted to dive into, because I don't think we've seen it too often, especially in these past years, big name running backs changing teams. Now, none of these guys are LeVeon Bell, but I think it's interesting to see the difficulty that a lot of free agent running backs have had trying to change teams. From this past season in 2018, Carlos Hyde made the switch to the Browns. He only averaged 3.4 yards per carry and 4.8 yards per reception in 6 games. LeGarrette Blount, when he went to the Lions, 2.7 yards per carry. When Isaiah Crowell went to the Jets, he was boom or bust. He either didn't do anything or he had a huge game for you. And then Dion Lewis only averaged 3.3 yards per carry last season. Now, yards per carry, it's not a stat that I love to throw around often, but it shows that how inefficient some of these guys were changing teams. Go back a little bit further than that. DeMarco Murray, remember that fiasco when he went from Dallas to Philadelphia? That had a lot to do with the offense, but DeMarco Murray was awful before going to Tennessee after that. Lamar Miller, when he joined the 2016 Texans, he had to have a ton of volume to get to 1,000 yards. He only averaged 4 yards per carry that season. Frank Gore with the 2015 Colts, under 4 yards a carry. Matt Forte with the 2016 Jets, under 4 yards a carry. So again, just kind of jumping on that information again, a lot of running backs, when they have switched teams in free agency, that first year that they are with the team, unless they have a ton of volume, it can be a little difficult. They're not nearly as efficient as we would like to see. Now, again, Le'Veon Bell isn't any of those people, but the information I've brought up here, and again, all the information that we've brought up in the other videos about Le'Veon Bell, here at the Fantasy Headliners, we're encouraging you to skip him on draft day. But then when you get about 6 games into the season, start sending out some trade offers, because the second half of the season, we're thinking is going to be much better than the first half. All right, now if you see Joe Mixon on the screen, don't pass out, okay? If you've been following me for a while now, you know that I'm one of the OG Joe Mixon truthers. He was my running back 1 in that draft class. He's a guy that I said had by far, in my opinion, some of the most talent in that draft class overall. And now I'm putting him on a video where I'm saying after touting him all offseason, we're going to skip him on draft day. It hurts a little bit. Trust me. I really like Joe Mixon. But with the recent news that we've seen with the offensive line, let's jump into why I'm going to skip on him this draft day. Now, with Joe Mixon, his ADP is at 11.8 right now. He's the running back 8 off the board. Again, to get him currently, you got to spend a first-round pick to do it. But they have had some huge losses in offensive line personnel over the last few weeks. Their first-round pick, Jonah Williams, a guy that was among the consensus, the top offensive lineman in the draft, he's got a torn labrum. He's done for the year. He was going to be a huge upgrade for this offensive line. Their best offensive lineman, Clint Bowling, he's headed to retirement. He's done because of health reasons. That is 2 huge losses for the Cincinnati Bengals. And they have offensive line depth, but that depth isn't going to be nearly as good as the 2 players that they just lost. Last season, the Bengals offensive line was consistently in the lower half of Pro Football Focus's offensive line rankings. They were awful 2 years ago. They were a little bit better last season, but still pretty bad. And I was expecting a big jump for them this year, but when you lose basically 2 of your top offensive linemen, it's going to be hard to be any better than the bottom half or even bottom third of the ratings for offensive lines this year. But I just want to capitalize on that a little bit. Let's say this offensive line just doesn't do what it's supposed to. Joe Mixon comes out and he struggles to begin the season. They've got a ton of depth at running back this year. They've got Gio Bernard. They've got Travion Williams. They possibly will have Rodney Anderson later in the year. If he's healthy and he's ready to go, that's 3 backups that they could use behind Mixon. And if they say, hey, he's struggling, we don't want to get him hurt, we're going to sit him down for right now. We're going to give some of these other guys work. We're going to let them show what they have. Joe Mixon's still our guy, but we don't want to get him killed in a season that could potentially be lost. That defense in Cincinnati is not going to be very good. It was awful last year. They've made some changes, but it's still not going to be great this year. There is an extreme possibility that Cincinnati is going to find themselves playing from behind a lot this year. If that happens, Mixon could find himself off the field on 3rd downs, even though I know he can handle it. He could find himself off the field on 3rd downs with Bernard or Williams on the field taking some of those pass-catching responsibilities from him. Again, I love Joe Mixon. He's a 3-down back. He can handle the entire workload. But I don't love the situation around him right now. If he hadn't had the injuries on the offensive line that he's had, he's a first-round pick for me 100%. But those are 2 really good offensive linemen that he just lost that he's going to need. Now, again, this is all about value. I'm not hating on the player. I'm hating on the player at his value. If Joe Mixon fell to me at the end of the 2nd round or the beginning of the 3rd, I'd be all over it. But more than likely, he's not going to fall there. You're going to have to take him in the 1st round. If that happens, that's a little too risky for me, and I'll explain a little bit more why in a minute after we talk about this next running back. All right, so my last running back to talk about is going to be Melvin Gordon from the Los Angeles Chargers, and his name all of a sudden popping up all over the place because this guy's demanding a trade. He wants a new contract or he wants a trade. What is going to happen? Well, there's only one name that comes to mind right now with this situation, and it's Le'Veon Bell from 2018. I don't want to get caught in that mess again. Last season, Jake nailed it on the head. Very early in the offseason, he said, skip on Le'Veon Bell. Don't do it. Stay away from him. There's way too much going on. Forget about it. So, with that being said, are we going to do same thing with Melvin Gordon this year? Running backs that are going after these three guys that I just talked about, James Conner, Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, all four of those running backs also have some question marks about them. But you can get all of those guys at a second round ADP, where with these three guys, you're going to have to spend a first round ADP on them. Melvin Gordon right now is the running back 6 off the board. He's got a 7th overall ADP. I've already given you the ADPs of the other two. You could take one of these guys, or you could do a Devontae Adams, a DeAndre Hopkins, a Julio Jones, a Juju Smith-Schuster. You could go with one of those guys, and then, yes, you could spend a second-round pick on the guys that I just mentioned who have a lot of question marks, but that's your second-round pick. You've nailed that first round with some of those wide receivers I've just mentioned. That's a good start. That's a safe start. This isn't really a safe start for you. A lot of owners last season got burnt by LeVeon Bell because they spent first-round picks. A lot of people spent first overall picks on LeVeon Bell. And it's tough to come back from that if you don't draft James Conner. A lot of people were able to get James Conner. Melvin Gordon doesn't have James Conner to back him up. Yeah, I like Austin Eckler, but he's good in a complementary role. He's not good as the lead back. I like Justin Jackson, but he's not Melvin Gordon. He's not going to go out there and handle the same workload. So even if you draft Melvin Gordon and say, oh, I'll get Eckler later, that's fine. I'm going to do what Le'Veon Bell owners did with James Conner. James Conner isn't the same person as these other backups for Melvin Gordon. That situation won't work this year. And that is why I'm going to pass on Melvin Gordon. And that is why with these three running backs total, if we get out to the end of that first round and I have missed on those top running backs because I'm drafting at the end of the first round, then give me one of those top safe wide receivers this season. I'll spend a second round pick on a running back, and then we'll go with the flow from there. All right, I didn't want to leave all the wide receivers out of the fun. And if you see Adam Thielen's name, it's okay. That is true. That's who I've got on the right-hand side of the screen right now. Don't panic. Because again, I don't hate players. I hate players at their current value. And with Adam Thielen, I'm having a little bit of trouble buying into him at his current value. I love Adam Thielen. He's an excellent player. He's one of the feel-good stories in the NFL. He's really established himself as one of the better receivers in the NFL, and he's got an excellent backstory. But this is fantasy football, and as much as I love all that other stuff, on draft day, I want to get the guys who give me the best chance to win, and with Adam Thielen, I'm just not feeling it this season. With Adam Thielen, right now he's got an ADP of 27.6. He's the wide receiver 11 off the boards. Again, you're going to have to draft him typically as a wide receiver 1. Unless, as I mentioned a minute ago, where you go with a Smith-Schuster or a Hopkins, an Adams, a Jones in the first round, you get a Conner, Cook, Gurley, Chubb in the second round, and then you come back with like a Thielen in the third round. That's something that could end up happening. However, I think there are some better, if not just as good values coming after Adam Thielen. Where is the offense headed in Minnesota? Personally, from everything I've read, from everything I've seen, from the end of last season to right now, I personally believe that we are going to see a more run-focused offense with a healthy Dalvin Cook in 2019. Now, I know we're asking a lot of Dalvin Cook to be healthy for 16 games, but I believe in him, and I believe in what he can do in that offense. Because the guy's not just going to make an impact on the ground, he's going to make a huge impact through the air. He's going to take a lot of targets that may not have typically been given to the running backs in the past, with the exception of Jerick McKinnon a couple of years ago. Dalvin Cook is going to take away some of those targets that we saw last season. Another thing that I see happening as well is a lot more 2 tight end sets. Now, when that happens, a lot of times last year you saw the Vikings running with 3 wide receivers on the field. What if we change that up and we go with 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, we got our running back in the backfield? What that is going to do is instead of having another wide receiver on the field that cornerback safeties are going to have to worry about, with 2 tight ends, you don't have to give them nearly the same respect, or coaches may not feel they need to give them nearly the same respect as they may need to give a wide receiver 3. That could allow some opposing defenses to do some things to, number 1, focus their better cornerbacks on Adam Thielen, or number 2, double team him more often. You can't, with 2 tight end sets, put Adam Thielen in positions to win is nearly as much as you can with 3 wide receivers on the field. I like what this offense is doing. I like the 2 tight end sets. I just think you're going to run into a position where Adam Thielen isn't going to have the opportunity to win as much as he did the last couple of years. With all that being said, though, okay, how confident are you with Adam Thielen as one of your top wide receivers headed into the playoffs? Because the last 2 years, he's really let owners down. Is it because of a large workload throughout the season? What is it? I know last year he was hurt, but 2 years ago in 2017, the last 3 games of the season, 18 targets, 11 receptions, 115 yards, and no touchdowns. In 2018, his last 5 games of the season, 29 targets, 20 receptions, 235 yards, and 1 touchdown. So what you saw there is a guy that you looked at as being one of your top wide receivers all season long just disappear at the end of the year. Also, last year after the Week 10 bye, Adam Thielen had 50 targets, 35 receptions, 426 yards, and 3 touchdowns. After that Week 10 bye last season, we saw Stefon Diggs become the wide receiver 1 in Minnesota. 63 targets, 44 receptions, 434 yards, 5 touchdowns. I firmly believe that Adam Thielen will be the guy that will be a much more efficient receiver and will have more receptions. But I believe that Stefon Diggs is going to have much more targets, as we saw that shift at the end of last season, and he's going to be the big play guy that's going to come with more touchdowns. They're going to have to take some of those targets away to give back to Dalvin Cook next season over the course of a full 16-game schedule, again, if he's healthy. But that's what we're going to go into the season assuming at this point and operating under, that Dalvin Cook is healthy, because he is right now. Guys that are going after Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, Stefon Diggs, who we just talked about, is going well after him. Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett. All of these guys are going at a little bit better value than what Adam Thielen is right now. With Amari Cooper, I know Amari Cooper is boom or bust, 100%. But he has more upside to me than what Adam Thielen has. I like Adam Thielen this year as a low-end wide receiver too, as a safe play every single week. But there are guys that are going after him that I think present a much better upside. And if you in the first round drafted a Julio Jones, Smith-Schuster, we've talked about it already, Adams, Hopkins, any of those guys, you've drafted a safe wide receiver in the first round. For my wide receiver too, I don't necessarily need to be as safe because I already have a good option for me there. Give me some upside. Give me a guy that's going to score some big-time touchdowns. Give me the guys that are going to rack up the most yards. Again, at his current price tag, I just don't see Adam Thielen meeting that ceiling this season. I think he's a terrific floor play, but as my draft goes along, with everything I just played out, I'm going to be looking for a little bit more upside. All right, there you have it. 4 players that you should be avoiding on draft day this season. Leave some comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. I know Adam Thielen is going to be a guy that you look at and say, absolutely no way, Kyle. I get it. Hopefully, maybe I gave you some things to think about, though, on draft day, okay? So leave a comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. Don't forget, we've got those 2 giveaways going on right now. Head to thefantasyheadliners.com. Purchase your draft guide, only $19.99. That's going to put you in the running for the Alvin Kamara signed jersey. And then, of course, Jake's wide receiver rankings video. Head over to that one, and he's going to tell you how to win the Keenan Allen jersey. But most importantly, over everything at this point, if you are new to Headliner Nation and you just hit that subscribe button, please let me know in the comments below. I want to personally welcome you to Headliner Nation, this awesome community that we've built here on YouTube. Super excited for the 2019 season. I hope you all are just as excited. Make sure you check out all the awesome content we have coming out every single day of the week. And I'm going to catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Have a good one.